mute your phones. That's the way they'll cut down on any background noise that's going on, and everyone can hear. I'm getting a message that looks like the maximum has been reached for attendees, and people might be trying to get in. So, I'll alert that. But we'll go ahead and get started. This is the phase 1 issue management training. What we're going to do here is introduce you to leaderboard reports, what that means as far as the 508, what that means as far as 508 standards at HHS, at the related Accenture reports that are run on a monthly basis. That spring's going to keep happening while people are trying to get in on the closed session. But so hopefully everyone can see my screen right here. Right here is the leaderboard report for HHS. Basically, what that is a high-level view of 508 compliance rate monitoring for individual sites, broken up by agency division, everything like that, and that you can drill down to. So we drill down, and the site I'm going to be using in this demonstration is going to be this site right here. So this site was set up by set up to be run on a monthly basis, to be scanned on a monthly basis by the Accenture software, which again monitors 505. Highly visible, so this is what upper management is looking at to see if sites are reaching 508 compliance.
Hi, this is Srinath here from NCR. I'm not able to get into the WebEx, the GoToMeeting section.
Yeah, it seems as though that there's a maximum limit of 26, which I was not aware of, but I'm going to email that out to my contact over at NCI to make sure that everyone can maybe do a follow-up and let them know about the 26 people limit.
So should we drop off? Should I drop off if I'm not able to see the GoToMeeting?
Yeah, because this is highly interactive and highly visible, so you might not get as much out of it if you're just listening.
Okay, all right.
And we'll do a later session for you.
All right, thank you.
No problem. Okay. So, back to the leaderboard.
Is there a way to block the sound? Is there a way to block the sound, the ding sound?
Yeah, I don't know of a way. This is the first time this has really ever happened, so I'm gonna have to. For now, it looks like we're just gonna have to deal with it until it goes away. So here is the leaderboard on the site level, and this is how your site, whichever site you're managing, will come up on the leaderboard and be posted to the leaderboard. Now, the scores are based on, again, the Accenture scan, the monthly Accenture scan, and this is a read-only version of the report. Being a read-only version of the report, you cannot actually go in and manipulate what you need to do to get the scores up. To do that, you have to have the Accenture client installed on your machine. If you do not have the Accenture client installed on your machine, and need access to it, and it's time to do this task, you want to email scan support at hhs.gov. Okay? And when you're doing that, you want to provide which site that you're actually going to be issue managing, and that will let them know which login information you need and the folder location of your short report. So here's the client. I'm going to log on here. And then we're going to be reviewing this site today as an example. I'm not actually going to change anything as far as the score-wise going to the site. going to navigate to the folder location, again, which we will be given by scan support at hhs.gov. And I will give a little document out, send a little document out to, doing that error, send a document out for how to navigate to the actual folder. Go to website, report, find reports. This one will come up. You want to browse, and then you want to go to your folder location. Now, I know the folder location for this site. I'm going to navigate there right now. Okay. The one I'm looking for is this one, I believe, right here. Okay. So now that I know my location, I can open the report. Now, just I want to talk about a little bit about these reports. There's reports, the individual site reports, are named with the date. You always want to work on the very latest site report. If you work on previous reports, your score's not going to change, and there's going to be a lot of wasted work. You always want to work on the latest report. The other thing to note is the report is run once a month on the same date. So this one looks like it's run the same time on the 9th of each month. That's important because the leaderboard scores are posted at the end of the month and take the latest score. So when this was posted, the March leaderboard was posted on 3-1. It's going to take the latest score, the 291. Okay? Let's say, for some reason, the site score, in this case it is, but let's say your site score was really low. It was 70% or something. And you did a lot of work with developers remediating issues and identifying false positives to get the site score up to 90. Well, that's a significant increase. However, unfortunately, the reports are not real time. To have that work reflected, you're going to want to have another report run. This will be a little more evident when we actually go into the actual report. But if you want to do that, have an additional report run outside of this monthly report, you can do so by emailing scansupport@hhs.gov. They'll get a new report up there, and which will reflect your changes and get it in time for the monthly posting to the leaderboard. Okay. Again, the main point here is always work on the latest report. I'm going to open that. And once you do that, you're going to hit the search button. Two files are going to show up, a zip file and a non-zip file. You're always going to want to select the non-zip file. I'm going to hit browse. And there's a couple additional reports that are actually in each report. There's a link integrity report, which you can take a look at, monitor your site's linking links, external links, validity. But the one that we're mainly concerned on here is the HHS 508 customer report. And the HHS scorecard, excuse me, because that is the score that is going to be posted to the monthly leaderboard. Right now, 69.33 should match up to the leaderboard, 9.33. Okay. I'm going to close the leaderboard out since we're pretty much done with that. And again, this is the actual report of the Accenture scan. It is based on the 508 web regulations. Each web regulation is given a different score and averaged together, completely unweighted average, just a direct average, to give you your site score. Okay? So, for instance here, HHS color custom report. That's based on the web regulation that color cannot be used to convey information on the site. That has an individual report. That report now for this site is 50%. So that 50% gets weighted in with all the other scores, again, based on web regulations. into a main site score, which is again the leaderboard. Is there any questions on that so far? How scores are calculated and get posted to the leaderboard? Okay. So, with each web regulation, each automated tool, there's going to be certain things it can and can't do. Some of these web regulations, Accenture cannot evaluate on its own whatsoever, such as color. It can tell the colors used on the page, but it can't tell how it's used. So basically, it's going to flag every single page in your site and say, we can't, the tool can't evaluate on its own. It needs you for manual evaluation to actually pass or fail certain pages. Okay? So most of the ones that we're going to go over today are like that, where there's pretty much no automation other than it's flagging a page for manual evaluation. Others, such as multimedia, are partially evaluated, meaning that it can't evaluate a video file as far as saying the video file is not captioned, it is or isn't captioned. But what it can do is flag which pages on the site have video files. So, if your website doesn't have any video files or any multimedia used, then nothing's going to be returned. But if it does, only the pages which utilize that multimedia will be returned, as opposed to color customer report, where pretty much all your pages are going to be returned. Now, the last one is ones where it fully evaluates. We'll take the text tags report that all images must have proper alt text. And that it actually goes into the image and evaluates whether an alt tag is there or not. Now, one of the bad things with this is if an alt tag is present, it automatically passes it. But you definitely could have situations where there's incorrect alt text in there. So that's just kind of a high level going through examples of three kinds of types. There's fully automated, there's partially automated, and there's ones where it can't evaluate the web regulations whatsoever. And again, the ones that we're going to pretty much cover today are the ones that it can't evaluate whatsoever. So I'm going to go into an individual report, and without getting too much into the 508 web regulations, show you techniques and how an individual report looks. So in here, it's the color customer report. This looks like a fairly small site. Looks like it's about 22 pages. I say that because usually the color customer report returns every page in the site. So, when you're looking at this, each of these items is a web page in your site. Now, what you want to do is go one by one and look at these web pages and evaluate this web page per the web regulation. Okay? So when I open it up, I'm looking at this page and I'm evaluating purely from the color 508 web regulation. Now we'll get into this in a second what that web regulation actually means and how to test it. But let's just keep this high level for right now. Let's say we're evaluating this per color. Let's say I look at this page and evaluate it and find there's no 508 violation for this one regulation. Okay? If that is the case, I think we have someone who went on super full. Isolate that. Okay, that's good. Whoever went on mute or hold, please know that music starts playing and everyone can hear that. Okay, so we'll get back into this. So I'm evaluating this single page for a single web regulation. Let's say I find that there are no errors on this page whatsoever. I'm going to come back to my report and using these buttons, the Manage button for this single web page. Go click Manage. Say, well, there were no violations, so I'm going to pass this individual page. The reason, you can put something like manually inspected, no color violations found. And then I would hit update. I'm not going to do that now because I didn't really evaluate it. Now, if I looked at this page and I found some kind of color violation, I would come back here, put it to failed, and then give a reason, color violation found, and then you can actually put the reason if you want to. And at that point, it would be up to you, and this is completely out of the Accenture tool. Follow whatever process you would when you find a violation to report it to either your management or directly to developers to have it resolved. Again, that differs from from agencies and divisions on how you go about doing that, but that is completely outside the scope of the tool. Ideally, what would happen is you would fail this, you would report it, it would get reported back as fixed, then you would go ahead and confirm that the fix was valid, and then you could set this back to pass. Okay. Now, initially, the status is set for all these to unclassified. Unclassified basically means that Accenture flagged the page for manual evaluation and it's up to you to pass or fail. But that is how you pass or fail once you evaluate a page on an individual basis. Do these individually. And then afterwards, basically what's going to happen, again, the report is not real time, so as far as this report is concerned, none of the scores are going to change when you're actually doing this. Again, it's not real time. This will not be, officially passed until a new report is run. When a new report is run, it's going to see from the last report that this page was passed, and then that will affect the score. But on this individual report, it's not going to have any effect on the score. Okay. Is there any questions on passing or failing on an individual page basis? Okay. I have a question. Great. Yeah, sure.
So once you've said that say that you've changed the status to pass and you put the reason in and you've done the update, the next time the scan is executed, would it also not find that this has a problem, or would it rely on the last status of pass to then accept it as pass for this time as well?
Yeah, it's going to rely on this pass status that you gave it.
Okay, but will it recognize that there's been an update and the center's HTML has changed? Does it recognize that it's a new version of that and then reprocess it? Or how does that work?
Right, yeah. Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, that's a big limitation of the tool. Once you pass it on here, it stays passed. The only way that this same page is going to come up on the tool again is if the URL or the folder changed. If it was like a refresh and you did a big folder structure change and it's a different URL, then it would come up. But that is the only way it's going to come up again. If it's always the same URL, it is going to stay passed once you pass it forever.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks.
Good. Any other questions? Okay. So yeah, that's definitely a limitation of the tool. So if you know an update has occurred, it's always good to go in and reevaluate yourself. But as far as tool-wise goes, as of right now, there's no additional evaluation. Now that is how to do it on a page-by-page basis. And usually the most work you're ever going to have is when there's a brand new site or brand new refresh site which has a lot of pages. In this case, there's not a lot of pages to this site, but that's when a lot of your work is going to be done. But then after the monthly after you do a couple of these and get it down to a manageable member sites and passed a lot of these pages, the only new pages that are going to come up on the report that are unclassified are, again, ones that either changed folder location or brand new pages. So let's say we passed all these 22 pages and no new pages came on. And on the next month's report, it's going to have 22 pages that's passed and no unclassified. But then the next month, say 5 new pages come online, you'll have 22 pages that are passed and 5 pages that are unclassified. And you would have to evaluate those 5 new pages. So,
on the pages that are manually passed, if there is a new violation like a multimedia violation or some other private compliance violation, it's still going to keep it passed, right?
Yeah.
Not the color.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, so if you were on one of these other ones where a new element came up, I believe it's still going to stay passed because you're already past it. And that's an unfortunate thing because we have been, sending bugs to Accenture, and one of the things we would like is to change it, from the page basis on some of these reports to an actual element basis where we can pass about the element, but we haven't heard back. So that is that's how to pass or fail on an individual one. There's also this manage all at the top. So this actually saves a lot of time because what you can do is rather than evaluate the page, update the status, evaluate the page, update the status, if you're pretty confident that you're not going to find any errors, on your pages, what you can do, and what I like to do a lot of times, is keep going page by page and evaluate them all until you are confident that they all have passed. If they all have passed, then what you can do is do a manage all, like passed, reason, manually inspected, no color violations found, and do an update all. And that'll do a bulk update of all the unclassified pages from unclassified to passed. And that'll save, a lot of clicks, mouse clicks. What you can do if you evaluate all these pages at one time and maybe find 21 of them have passed, but one has a problem, you can still use the manage all to manage them all to pass, and then pick the one that failed and individually fail that. So that's just a couple tips for saving time on these. Or if there's a global template issue where all of these pages are affected, then you could do a bulk change for the status to fail. So the main point is you can either manage the pages individually, one at a time, or you can do this bulk change. Any questions on the bulk change?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I am starting on this and doing it for a new website.
Okay.
And I tried to do a manage all on a section last week, and it just said unsuccessful. Once I gave a reason, update all, and then it said, are you sure you want to do update all? And I said yes, and it said unsuccessful. So I submitted a ticket, and it was changed for me by the scan support. But then I tried to do it again on another section after inspecting the pages and elements and determining it could be passed by manage all, and I got the same error.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that is going to happen with every time I manage all, or if that's just something that the system on that day wouldn't let me do, and I'll be able to do that another day.
Mm-hmm. So what we found with that error, we definitely have that error before and run into a lot, is that if you're managing all, and like you said, you were working on a new site, so I imagine there was a substantial amount of pages.
Yes.
The more pages that are marked as unclassified when you're doing the manage all, the more likely that error is to occur. So hopefully, on the month-to-month basis, you got it down so where only the new pages are coming online, and it's maybe 5 or 6 as opposed to whatever. You should be able to do the manage all at that point.
Okay.
We've noticed that kind of 50 kind of the number where it starts to, for some reports, and again, it's completely inconsistent. For some of the reports where it starts to, come up with that update on successful error. We've reported to Accenture. They haven't been able to diagnose it. But yeah, just for some reports, for some reason, if you get up to that 50 number, that tends to happen more. But your course of action was completely correct. If you run into that error, just email scansupport@hhs.com, and they will get you set up with that.
Okay, and it's kind of like at the beginning of the new site, that's the pain you have to go through, and then it'll be after that.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. We tend to find that once it gets down to a manageable number, under 50, that it tends to, accept the changes more often.
Okay. Thank you.
Not guaranteed, but...
Sure. I want to look to it.
Yeah. Okay, great. Any other questions on Manjal? No? I'm talking, but... Okay, that might just be background. Okay. So that is basically it. That's going to be your basic technique for working with or identifying any of these web regulations that you're working on. You're going to take a look at the page, determine if there's a violation on there per each regulation you're working on, determine if you need to report an issue to a developer or management or however that process works in your own division, and then eventually, hopefully, everything will be fixed, and then you can update it to pass, or if it's already a non-issue, just change it to pass. Another technique I like to do, especially with the ones that we're going over today, a lot of the times, when you pull up the reports, because they're based on the pages, you're going to see the same page on multiple reports. And in a lot of the cases, you'll say 5 new pages came online since your last report. Those 5 pages pretty much are going to be on the color customer report, readability, flicker rate, time delays, everything. So the point is, what I like to do is open the page and not just look for what I'm looking for in the color customer report, but also keep in mind there's other regulations and evaluate that at the same time as well. That way, when you get to done evaluating your your page, you evaluated 5 regulations, and then the only thing you have to do is update each status in each individual report. Now, we've had people ask, is there a way to update page to pass in multiple reports? Fortunately, no, that would be a feature, but for each page, it's going to appear on each individual report. Passing in a 1 does not mean it's going to pass on another. Okay. So, again, that's going to be your basic technique. What we're going to go into now is 5 basic web regulations that are the most common and have the most common violations, and you can get your score up pretty fast. So the first is the color customer report. Basically, in the 508 world, color can definitely be used on the site. Obviously, sites aren't regulated to be only black and white. What you cannot do, however, is use color to convey information. So let's say, let's see if there's any ones here. Let's say you have a form that you want users to fill out, and certain fields in the form, first name, last name, phone number, fields like that, you want to make them required. Well, if you use the technique that required fields are marked in red, that would be a method of conveying information with the color only. Problem there is some people are colorblind and they would not be able to tell which fields are required because they can't see color red. So, while you can keep that method in there, you would also need to add another non-color method, such as an asterisk. So you would say required fields marked with an asterisk, and then you could still keep still have last name in red, but you definitely need that non-color method. Other examples we see a lot of this in our pie charts with the color element legend. There's a way to make pie charts accessible, which is put the actual label on the pie chart or next to the slices. But if you only have the slices and a color legend, that's going to be a violation. State maps, sometimes we see state maps where state is in a certain color to designate a certain situation or status. In that case, again, if it's usually a color only method, that's going to be a violation. And that's where we see a lot of them is charts, bar graphs, pie charts, and the required field ones. On my head, those are the best examples that I can give you for that. In addition to conveying color with information, there's also color contrast issues that we have to be aware of. Color contrast, let's say you had a yellow background with a light yellow background with a dark yellow text on it. Well, that's kind of an extreme example, but that's what we're talking with color contrast. There's not a lot of contrast in there, and users are going to have a hard time seeing the actual text, especially users with low vision. So what HHS regulates is that all text on background have a color contrast of at least 4.5 to 1. That is the acceptable contrast ratio. Now, there are third-party tools you can use to find these and help you find violations. What I recommend doing is just kind of giving a once-over and see for yourself if you're having a hard time seeing, one set of text over another. Like, for example, here, this black and white, obviously, that's the highest contrast, so there's not going to be a lot of trouble seeing there. But this show more link, this blue on white, that might have a low contrast, so I might want to inspect that with a third-party tool. Okay? And down here, this gray on the footer, Service of the National Cancer Institute. Again, that looks like a low contrast to me. So there's a tool that I use called the Color Contrast Analyzer. Again, most of these tools are the same, where it relies on a color dropper to pick the actual color from the web page. So my foreground, I'm going to select the color. That's going to be give me the value of the color. I'm going to select background. That's going to give my ratio. Your contrast ratio 2.85 to 1. So that's going to be a violation because it is not 4.5 to 1. Now, in this case, what I would say would be, report to the developer, or project manager, whatever process it is, saying, hey, I found a piece of text that has low contrast, 2.85 to 1, and we need to get it up to 4.5 to 1. Okay? So, seeing as the footer is repeated on all of these, this might be a situation where you go to the color customer report, do a manage all, and do a fail, because this is going to be repeated on all your pages. Okay? I can give the link to this tool. I think this is one of the best ones used for evaluating your web pages for color contrast. Is there any questions on the color regulation as far as color content or color contrast?
I wasn't able to join the GoToMeeting, but I'm just calling in and kind of following along. And so that link that you're going to provide, is that going to be on a follow-up or something like that?
Yeah, I'll reply all. I'll reply all to the meeting request and give everyone the materials.
Okay.
So you said you were not able to.
It told me it was full. It told me it was
right. Full. Yeah, I apologize for that. I did not realize there was a maximum limit. So I'm going to bring that up, and there might be another follow-up session, so you can actually see what's going on here, which will be more helpful. Okay. So that is the color. section. Next one we're going to tackle is readability. Let me open this. So readability has to do with the way screen readers read the web page. They do not read the web page as we see it. They read kind of the back-end coding of the web page. So, best way to evaluate the readability is take the web page and open a new window or tab. Then what I'm going to do is disable the CSS. CSS is what pretty much gives the website the look and feel. But I'm going to strip that out and just get to the content. So I'm going to page style, this style. And then I'm going to compare the two pages. And I'm looking for basically three things here. I want to make sure when I go from the regular web page to the non-CSS site page, that no new content, appears. Like sometimes we have different elements or different back-end codings here and there. We don't want anything to disappear, so we don't want a large piece of content to disappear. And we want everything to be in the same order. That way, everyone's going to get the same experience. Screen reader users. There's also users who actually use their own CSS to enhance certain aspects of the accessibility, maybe bigger font size, things like that. What we want to make sure is everyone is getting the same content and in the same order. I'm just going to, go back and forth and compare these two pages, just on first glance. Obviously, things are going to be a little bit different visually, but I'm concentrating on the content. I want to make sure that these elements are all appearing the same, and same content-wise, and in the same order. In this case, it looks like everything is pretty much good to go. Now, when doing this one, actually some errors here, but it'll show you which pages are using which style sheets. Okay, so it looks like there's some errors here, but it looks like every page is using pretty much the same style sheet. If you ever find anything like this, the error 404 not found, on any of the reports, again, email scansupport@hhs.gov, and they'll investigate and give you an answer on what's coming up or why it's like that. But that is basically how to evaluate readability. Again, you're comparing the style page to the non-style page, making sure nothing appears, making sure nothing disappears, and making sure everything is in safe order. Any questions on readability? Okay. We have some background noise. If you could just, mute your phones, that'd be great. Next, we're going to tackle flicker rate. So flicker rate, this is one of those ones where I can't really give you a good example for this because I've never seen this on a government website. So flicker rate is basically all about we don't want to cause any seizures. We don't want any strobe effects or anything flickering at a high rate of speed to cause anyone seizures. Again, I've never seen this on a site. If you see anything on your site that's flickering at a high rate of speed or anything like that, the basic test to do is if it's blinking or flickering at a pace of more than twice per second, so something flashing on, off, more than twice per second, you probably have a flicker rate violation going on, and you want to report that to development. There's an actual range of acceptable rate, which is 2 hertz to 55 hertz. But again, there's no real tool I can point you to evaluate that and see what an element would be flickering at, other than just use the test I just gave you. More than twice a second. If it's more than twice a second, then you probably have a violation. And if it's close to that, report to development, and they may be able to figure out how to figure out that range. But again, I've never seen this on any of the sites that I've evaluated a lot here at HHS. So this one usually is going to be an automatic, tend to be a pass. Not automatic, you still have to evaluate, but that tends to be a pass. Any questions on flicker rate? I know it's not the best explanation, but again, we haven't run into it a lot. Okay. Next one, let's get down to time delays. Again, this is going to be one that pretty much return every single page on your site. Time delays. We can't have anything that puts a time constraint on the user for completion of activity or for viewing of content. So let's go back to our form example of filling in your first name, last name. Let's say you want a time constraint of 5 minutes on that form, or else the session will time out. You can put that time constraint on there. However, if you have that time constraint, you also have to have a method for the user to extend that time. People with disabilities, learning disabilities, who may need more time to complete the form. So at the end of the 5 minutes, you would have to have some kind of pop-up or some kind of indication that says your time is about to expire. Would you like to extend the time? Yes or no? Something like that. If you have that in there, that's completely fine. But if it's this situation where after 5 minutes, goes and they click the submit button and there's a big, error that says your session is timed out, please do it again, and it resets, then that's what we're trying to prevent here. The other thing that we see this a lot on is home pages, because a lot of the home pages, not this one per se, but a lot of the home pages like to use that slideshow element where it's automatically rotating slides. The problem with that is if it's automatically rotating slides and the user can't get back and forth between the slides, then it's going to be a problem because they may miss some vital information. So if you're going to have a slideshow element on any of your sites, just make sure that there is a method to pause it and to navigate back and forth in between slides. And that's where we see most of our violations for the time delays on here. Is there any questions about time delays? Okay, great. Last one we're going to cover today is navigation links customer report. This has everything to do with something called skip navigation. So I'm going to back to this page. So this page pretty much has the same template over and over again as far as this top content. It's got this header information, these links, these top navigation. So as visual users, we can just with our eyes skip down right to the main content and get to where we want. But if you're using a keyboard only, or if you are using a screen reader, every time a page loads, you don't want to have to go through all this content every single time. So, to get past that, your site is going to have a skip navigation link. Now, the first method of evaluating this that I always do is to disable the styles as we did for the readability. When we disable the styles, what should happen is most of the time a hidden skip navigation link should appear, and it should be the first element on the page. What that should do is when you click it, it should jump down to the main body of the page, the CDD applications in this case. It should be functional both with mouse and keyboard. So go ahead and that. So in this case, and I tested this before, was that the skip nav link is broken. And basically what you want to tell the developer here is that the skip navigation link is there, but when I click it, nothing happens. What should have happened is it should have jumped down to here. Other problems we see is sometimes you click it and it'll only jump down to somewhere before the main body, and you still have to go past navigation. In this case, it's completely broken. I'm going to evaluate it with the mouse and just verify. Do the focus indicator over here. I'm going to go back, get the focus on the skip navigation. navigation. Right here, I'm going to hit enter. As expected, nothing's going to happen. Again, what should have happened here is once I did that and tabbed, should have went to the first focusable element within the body, which would have been this. Now, this not only has to function with CSS disabled, but also with CSS enabled. So what I do there is get the focus, somewhere near the page, and I'm looking here and going backward and trying to see if and that's good. So this is the best implementation we like, is when focus does go on it, the element appears. So it's got everything going on here, except it looks like the anchor is broken, and the anchor is the thing that takes down to the main body right here. So you will want to report that to development. Now, on the report, what you'll see here is it's not flagging every single page. Why it's not flagging every single page is this one is partially automated. If you use the code for skip navigation that is out there in the HHS code library, and it sees that that code is there, it's going to automatically pass it. So, again, one of the limitations is automatically passing isn't all, what's cracked up to be, because we see the situation right here where this page was not flagged, but still there's a violation on it because the skip nav is not correctly anchored. So it's not evaluating that anchor thing at all, it's only evaluating that skip nav link. So that's something else to watch out for. Because skip navigation is, very vital, so we'll make sure that that works. But it did flag these other pages for a lack of skip nav link. Let's look why it didn't do that. So again, this one doesn't have a skip nav link. Just verify that without styles. But it doesn't have to, because there's no repetitive navigation going on here. There's not a top nav or header or anything. It goes right to the main content itself. So in these cases, I'm guessing all of them, we can actually pass these, because the skip nav link is not required. And, that's kind of a false sense of security then here, because the next report will be 100% because you passed all these, but you still have a violation on your other sites that were automatically passed. So I guess the thing here to make sure of is that you have that, it's not a perfect tool by any means, but, there's still an element of, manual evaluation that should go on here that's kind of extra beyond the tool. What I like to do is there's an additional free tool called Wave that has a Firefox plugin. And while I'm going through these, I like to, use the Wave tool as an extra check. And if I did that, that would have shown me that there was an accessibility error, and that it is for broken navigation. You can do that for, other third-party tools to even get your 501 compliance even higher. But tool-wise, pretty much how to go through and do all these. Any questions on the skip navigation test report? Okay, great. Any questions on anything we've gone over today? Okay, awesome. So again, I'll send out the how to log into Accenture and get to your report, as well as that color analyzer tool for evaluating contrast. I'll apply all and get that to everyone who was on the meeting request. Additionally, I'll bring up the fact that we had a limitation of 26 users, and hopefully another one will be scheduled down the line for you. And beyond that, for any other ones you're interested in, for any other the web regulations or customer reports, if you need, well, we do offer phase 2 where you can request to have another one of these trainings, but we'll actually just, go through your report and, get you even more familiar with the web regulations. But also we will be offering some trainings pretty soon on the web regulations themselves, where we can get not only the ones that we covered today, but the rest of them as well. And if you need resources or anything like that on any of the other web regulations, just let me know, and I can provide those with you too. Okay, so if there's no other questions.
Actually, I do have a question.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. We have a website that takes a lot of parameters, and we can run, the scan on it, and it goes, okay, you have, 27 problems here, and you can go, and you can manage them and say, no, that's not a problem. And it eliminates those, but essentially there's an infinite number of parameters. The program itself doesn't seem to be able to handle an infinite amount of parameters. So,
With parameters, does that change the URL?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the best course of action there, again, would be to email scansupport@hhs.gov, and they can, you can, document your problem with them, and they can, kind of work with you to maybe set up some filters where, if it has the first, so much of the URL, then it'll, they can filter it out so it won't be repeated over and over again.
Okay. Now, is that something a user could set up himself, or does he need scan support for that?
Yeah, you need scan support for that because we have something called the ad hoc, where you can set up your own ad hoc one, but it's not going to be official, and it's not going to be posted to the leaderboard. Anything, all the scan filtering and scan results are managed by the scan support at hhs.gov, as far as the one that actually get posted to the leaderboard. So you can't do that yourself, but you can document the problem too and send off the scan support, and they should be able to help you out with that. And they have run into that a lot. And again, that is a limitation of the tool with the changing URL and the parameters, but that does become a problem, because basically, essentially, you pass the page, but with new parameters and everything, it's kind of tanking your score, and you have to do it over and over again. So they should be able to help you out with that. They're pretty good at filtering things out.
Okay, the other one is, when you do the manual, is there a way to affect the score immediately?
So again, on this actual report, no. What you can do is, once you get your score up, you can request an additional report that goes out of cycle. So this one, I think, was run on the 9th of each month. Yeah, February 9th. If you did all this work and say you were done by you were done on the 20th, and you wanted that score reflected on the leaderboard, you would have to request scan support at hhs.gov to run an additional report. Otherwise, it's not going to run until March 9th. The thing with that is, we only ask you to do that if your score is significantly impacted. So if it goes from 85 to above the 90 mark, and the 90 mark is really where we're trying to shoot at for each month. If you get it from 85 or less than that to 90, or a significant increase in score, then by all means do that. But if it's just a couple points, we kind of discourage that.
Okay, thank you. I have a question.
Sure.
How does this tool handle if a web page requires user to log in? So,
I believe that can be set up from that actually should have been set up already. If it's on the monthly leaderboard, when they set up the scans, they'll be able to put in that first initial login and then spider the page. Excuse me. But yeah, there is a way to handle that, but it would require help from scan support at hhs.gov. Okay, thanks. Okay. Any more questions?
I have one other question.
Sure.
You mentioned the ad hoc report. there a way to have the an ad hoc report executed against, say, the development tier, so that some of these errors can be checked and taken care of before it gets to where it would actually be reported to the leaderboard?
So, yes and no. So, if you ran an ad hoc report and got that set up on the development site, you could use that as a kind of a guide to what's going to be on when it goes live. But any work that you do on there would not be able to be transferred. So, basically, you would use the ad hoc report as a guide and way to find your issues.
I was thinking you would before we actually go to a release, we kind of run it on the development tier before we release it to QA for them to do their work.
Mm-hmm. Right, and you can definitely do that. You can definitely set up an ad hoc report for the development site. But what you're not going to do is any of this issue management because that's not going to transfer into the new site.
So that's fine. So that way we can alleviate if we find some real errors that need to be done. Then we can do them the development staging still.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, that's completely good. Yep.
Okay, and who do we contact about that?
Again, that's going to be scan support at hhs.gov. I actually think once you have access to the client, that you're able to do that yourself. But I think still contact them because they'll. I think they have a manual or how-to guide to do that for yourself. And of course, they can help you with the first couple ones to get you comfortable.
That's awesome. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, great. Well, thanks for attending today. Sorry about those problems at the beginning with all the ringing sounds. But I'll throw that up the chain, and hopefully whoever missed out can